This is my latest flip where at the end of the day, I'll be profiting about $50,000. Now I've had 2 other flips before this one, and I've learned a lot through these 3 projects. So the intent of this video is nothing short of just giving you guys advice on how to, do a flip, how to make money, how to, avoid some of the pitfalls and mistakes that I've made in my journey here, and also how to have a little fun with it. All right, the first thing that you should understand is gonna be your numbers. Numbers on what the home should realistically sell for when it's completely renovated. They call that the ARV, or the after repair value. This isn't just a number that you're shooting for and hoping you get. You have to be very, very calculated with that number, because if it sells for anything short of that, that's just going to eat into your margins. Also having a really good understanding of what contractors cost, how much appliances are, and other things that you're gonna need to do to the home, so you have a nice spreadsheet and you have a very good estimated understanding of what you're gonna be spending, and you wanna make sure that you're not too far off of that. And for me, I just use a Google spreadsheet. Anytime I'm looking at a property, I will get the spreadsheet. I kind of have a template I use now as far as like what we need for paint, appliances, and all the other things we'll need, and I put an estimated bid or an estimated number on there, and then I just have another column once I start paying for this stuff and putting it in there, and have calculated totals at the bottom. A good example of that would be this kitchen here. So I knew the price point, I knew what buyers were willing to pay for it. On my last flip, it wasn't even a mile away, and we had elevated that kitchen way more than we needed to. I literally spent double the cost over at that kitchen than I did here. And I didn't even really, sell that home for much more, because buyers, at a certain point, there's a threshold. It wouldn't have appraised for much more because of the nice ass kitchen I put in there. So it was just, cost that I had spent, and it just ate into my margins. So we took that knowledge, applied it here. I still bought really nice appliances. They're all brand new. I worked with Appliance Direct to get a full package here. And like I told you, spent half the cost on all these appliances than I did at that kitchen on our last flip. If you're handy, save that candy. I know investors that are way more hands-on with some of their projects, and I also know investors that are completely outside of their projects and have nothing to do with that. I tried to find a happy medium where I could get involved and understand what I could do to save the most amount of money. And for this specific property, it was the pool equipment. When I bought this home, it did not have a pool pump and it did not have a salt cell. I knew I wanted to add that. I got some bids around from local pool companies. They were quoting me anywhere between $4,000 and $6,000 to add the pump and the salt cell. So I have some plumbing experience. I know enough about, electronics to be able to install stuff. So I installed all of this myself. I bought the pool pump online. I bought the salt cell. And about 2 hours of labor, I was able to get all this done for about $1,500. That, when I'm looking at my margin, saved me on paper $3,500, which to me, that was well worth my time. So most flips, you're gonna need to do fans, you'll need mirrors for the bathrooms, and all the other little accessories. On my last 2 flips, I would buy things, I'd bring them to the home, I'd hire a handyman to come through and install that. And every time he was out there, he would charge me for that day's worth of work. With this project, I made sure we had the bulk of everything at the property so I could spend a full day with a handyman to where he can install the fans, the mirrors in the bathrooms, and anything else that we needed on the walls and on the ceiling so we can knock it out in one day. That has saved me not only time, but also money. Buying in bulk is gonna save you money. If you're planning on doing multiple flips, it can't hurt to have a little bit more inventory for your next project. So the first thing I'll point out is these handles here. So I actually buy these on Amazon. I get them in packs of 50. It's the same size for these here as you're getting there. They look great. I've used them on all the cabinets and both the vanities in the bathrooms. Not only did I order these handles, but I've also ordered these lights in the overhead. So I ordered a few of those straight off Amazon. And then also in the bathroom, I'll show you these faucets. So they're great faucets. They come with everything for the sink that you need, and for a much more affordable than what you would pay at Home Depot or Lowe's or any of these other places. You need to be very considerate of the time it takes for these projects. So speed is your best friend. Speed meaning how long is it gonna take you to complete the entire project from the moment you close until you close when you sell it. That matters for a bunch of reasons, but primarily if you're using other people's money, like if you have a private lender, they're gonna be charging you interest on a monthly basis. So the longer you hold that, the more you're going to spend in holding costs, which is gonna eat away at your margins. So by getting planning up front, so maybe it's during the contractual phase of when you're purchasing the property, getting things lined up so that the day that you own the home, you can start working and then working towards a target date of when you wanna complete these. Most flippers talk about how they want to end projects in 6 months, meaning from when they purchase it to when they close on it in the future. For me, that's been very difficult to manage. This project here took about 9 months. That's probably due to the fact that this isn't my only job. I have a whole real estate business that I do, so that's my focus, where I kind of weave these in throughout my day as I need to. So 9 months to me is still doable and manageable, but in the future, I'm gonna be working towards, that 6-month goal, just so I can, cut some of the costs on the holding money there and then also profit a little bit more. And brief note on holding costs, because I've learned this the hard way. My first flip, I held for 3 years. 3 years. So I had to pay holding costs on that, which isn't just, the private money interest that you're paying there. It's also utilities. It's also getting the grass cut and all these other things that just add up over time. And that's why now when I lost my ass because I held that property for so long. And without getting too much into the weeds about why I held it for 3 years, it was, primarily two reasons. One, I got held up in permit purgatory, so we're waiting on permits from the city, and it took entirely longer than we anticipated. I also had squatters, so that was a lot of fun too. And the last thing I want to cover is relationships. So I have an advantage because I've been in real estate for a decade. I've built these relationships with these other contractors and vendors that I've worked with, for my clients on their properties. But what has allowed me to do here is use them for the flips that I'm doing. They offer me great prices, and then also sometimes they put me at the top of that priority so we can get things done, quicker, just because I've worked with them for so long. So building out that A-team of, your vendors and your contractors so you can start knocking these jobs out, that's probably your biggest asset when it comes to real estate flipping. All right, this is just a tidbit for agents or people that have a real estate license. So aligning with a brokerage that allows you to do these personal deals a year. So I'm at Real Broker, they let us do 3 deals a year, meaning I don't have to take a commission on it. That will help you, save those margins to where you're not paying yourself on a deal that is already with your money. To me, that just didn't make sense. So I just think that's, extra information for those of you that are, already an agent and trying to get into this investing world. All right, guys, so I purchased this property back in November of 2024 for $210,000. I'm closing on it in August for $385,000. And that gap there is $175,000. So I spent $90,000 on the renovation. I spent $20,000 on the holding costs, and that includes the interest, that includes paying someone to take care of the pool and the yard, and then I spent $12,000 on real estate stuff. So that's commissions, title work, doc stamps, and other things associated with the actual transaction itself. So that taken away from my margin of $175,000 leaves me with about $50,000 in profit. And people always want to know how I find these deals. And then this was a unique situation where it was all about relationships. So I actually sold this property to the person I bought it from 10 years ago. It was the first house he bought, he had purchased it, then he moved away, and his grandmother lived here for the last, 8 years. The home needed a lot of work, to include a roof, AC at a minimum, and when I met with him, he told me that he valued just getting rid of it. He wanted to sell it and be done with it. So fortunately, he and I came to terms on a number that worked for both of us, and I purchased it from him, and he got everything he wanted out of it. He got the number he wanted, he got the time, meaning we closed on that property in 2 weeks, and then it allowed me enough margins to be able to make the home, nice enough and still have a profit range. And by no means am I trying to say I'm an expert in this field. The way I consider myself is I'm still a beginner. I'm still making mistakes, and I'm still learning how to do a better job here. I just wanted to be really transparent about this because a lot of people that I know, agents or just people that want to get in real estate investing, want to do it, but they're afraid of the unknown. They don't know who to contact for money or vendors to get a hold of or how to find the property. And so the whole reason that I want to do these videos is to share our story with you guys, be very transparent about the mistakes I've made, and then open myself up to criticism from you guys. If you are a seasoned investor or someone that has done this more than I, and you find areas of improvement, whether it's dropping a comment or sending me an email, I'm always open to that. And if you found this video helpful, or you want to stick around for the journey of our next flip, because right now I'm going to be sitting on some cash, so you bet your ass I'm going to be looking for another project. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we're going to be posting our next project on there. And we also do a lot of other real estate content on our channel as well, so you might find that helpful as well.